I didn't know he was black.
Yeah.
You just told me his
Hey,
name. I wrote it.
Abe Tipton, is that?
No.
Oh, this is.
No, this guy. No.
It comes and goes.
No. I've got it written down. But I didn't realize that to me is really neat. But he helped start the Sea Scouts.
What's his name?
I got it.
Okay.
I have it at home. I came out here and he told me that his father had started first.
Tipton was in the Owl Patrol.
Right. He was the DE at the time.
Yeah.
And so your dad paired up with him, and they started the first Cub.
1950. There was at Peabody Apartment.
And they started up Cubbing there.
Yeah.
At Peabody Apartments. Okay. Well, then it was more. It was a mix. Emmett McKay. I know that he was a DE. Now, of course, I didn't realize he was. You were telling me about him, but I didn't realize because I hadn't seen a picture of him, and I'm glad I didn't realize he was black. But that for that time period, that was kind of breaking some.
Before he retired,
How long would you
over Fort Benning District?
Okay, he was when he retired. When he retired, he was doing Fort Benning.
Yeah.
Okay. He was doing Fort Benning at the time. How long would you think, just roughly, Charlie, that he was the DE?
In 1950 was when
Well, that's right.
me and my dad was
And you said he only passed away
last year.
He passed away
I tried to go to the funeral, but I didn't make it.
Oh, I'd have to see about.
Let's see. I think Emmett went to the funeral. Emmett Evans.
Of real historical value, because he was a DE for so long, and I guess he might have been the first black DE. I
guess.
I would assume. There ain't too many black folks. There ain't too many black folks in these pictures here. There's one or two. But
at that time, I was 18. I went into service.
You were
44.
1944. You were 18, right?
Yeah.
And you told me
that. Don't mind, Charlie. I won't put a microphone on you here, okay? We know we're going to do all.
Well, if I told you we're going to do all this, you might have got nervous and wouldn't have been able to see us. Well, no, there ain't nothing being prepared about it. I told you I was going to bring.
You've been preparing for 50 years.
Yeah.
Where's it at? There it is, right there. There's my 60-year certificate. That's what they gave me. Then they put me in for another NISA award.
That's 1944.
That's my NISA pen and card. Congratulations.
Congratulations on 60 years of service to the Boy Scouts.
That was.
You have seen the movement grow from its infancy to the largest youth group in the free world, and you can take pride that you and other pioneers in scouting laid the foundation. Watch out, that's.
Gotta set the brakes. Set the brakes. Push them down, down, hard down. There you go.
I got you. Yeah.
Countless scouters grew to maturity from children and grandchildren of their own. Imparted to them with great pleasure your veteran certificate marking years of selfless service to the youth of the nation is included.
That's a 60-year pen right there.
Wow. Don't give too many of those away, do they? They don't give out too many of those, do they? There's a lot of folks that don't live to be 60.
That other medal there, that was We received that last year from the regional commissioners.
Uh-huh.
I can wear a double miniature. You can get that or get any of these other chairs that you want. Or whatever. Or just go in the dining room and bring one of them in.
This, now I am so glad that I didn't realize this. If we...
Well, Abe Tipton, he may still be alive. I don't know.
I believe that he might be. I've got to call Milton
Yeah.
to find out. I'll call Milton and ask him. I'll scan this in.
Sit it down.
I'll scan. Here, I'll just set this to the side for a moment. I'll have to call him. What has happened here is Charlie has just shown us the experimental course that they had in that they did here in the Chattahoochee Council. Matter of fact, was SC1 was
the first one.
Was the first one, and it was done in Chattahoochee Council
At that same site.
At the same site. But this was the experimental course, and there was two of them.
If you notice, they had the national fella came down and put it on.
Right.
Beginning.
Okay.
Up at the top.
Potter. R.E. Potter. From the National Council. Well, what is so neat, and what I love about this is that I would say that of the Chattahoochee Council, probably the thing that they've done the best is wood badge. They have a tremendous history and of wood badge, and this it got its infancy in the region with these experimental courses.
Yeah, well, we had
able to start the wood badge courses here.
We had 3 on the staff, and then if you contact Herb,
right,
he may have a bunch of pictures.
Well, Herb was the
he may have took all of these. I don't know.
Right. I've talked to his son, Will, and Will has told me that of course they have a bunch of pictures, and I'm to get back. He's one of the people on our list of interested
that will
people
shake him up there.
That will help us. Well, he'll be tickled. This you got the first handkerchief here.
And the back book was in that course.
Okay, Charlie, I'm going to start off here by just asking you some basic questions. Just relax and just answer them. And when you and so we're going to start off here, Charlie. When did you first become involved in scouting?
And if you would, Charlie, you could answer with a complete sentence like, I first became in scouting at, you know.
I first became in scouting when I was 12 years old. That was the registration date at that time, 12 years old. And that was in 19...
Well, whenever you were 12 years old, we can figure that out. What year were you born?
July the 20th, 1926.
Okay. So, in 1938, you got involved in scouting.
Yep.
Who was your first Scoutmaster, Charlie?
I joined Troop 9 in 1937.
1937.
And I was in it to 1944 when I went into the Navy. I went into the Navy for 3 years. They called it a kiddie cruise. Then when I came out, I got involved with Troop 101 at Eastern Heights Baptist Church. Me and George Lamb, who was he was a future fire chief of Columbus, and we was there for 3 years. Scoutmaster Troop 101 from 47 to 49. And you got my Eagle Scout, I made it in May 22nd, 1944.
Charlie, you told me a very interesting story about how you started the troop that you were in as a boy. Can you give me a little bit of information on that?
At Troop 9, we met. First, Hope Baldwin was the Scoutmaster. He was an insurance salesman, and we was going to First Baptist Church, and we organized a scout troop without even a building. We met on the street corner of 13th Street and 17th Avenue. And then East Highland Methodist Church took us in to meet in the classroom. And our activities was always in a parking lot to the right side of the church. But we met in the Sunday school room down in the basement until the cabin was built up at 13th Street and 15th Avenue. And we got pictures of that. I don't know how it got built, but they built that troop, which was Troop 9. They built Troop 6, which is still a building still there. They built one in Columbus Mill parking lot at the back left corner. And then they built one behind Swift Mill on the street that went through the mill. They didn't even have a gate at that time.
Right.
They had a restaurant there. And this was across the street from the restaurant, across the street from the rail, all the train tracks. And that was the 4 scout huts that was active at that time. I wish I could remember the numbers of those, but I can't.
Well, we know the 9, and we know, of course, Troop 6.
6, right.
And there's the only one that's left, and it's down there in the lake bottom.
And then Troop 7, I don't know how we moved from Troop 9, it was cabin, up to Rose Hill Methodist Church. But we went in there and we had a coal bin. And this was right across the street from where Hope Baldwin lived.
Right.
And we went in there and dug all the coal out and got it cleaned up. And we met in that coal bin until I went in service. The only one, let's see, madam.
Now, y'all changed troop numbers, didn't you? It was a new troop.
Right. There was a new troop, Troop 7.
Troop 7, okay. Tell me a little bit about you getting your Eagle. What did, not too many boys got their Eagle back then.
No.
So.
Court of Honor was held at the courthouse. They,
What motivated you to shoot for Eagle? What motivated you to try to get the Eagle since there was so many?
I was an outdoor person. Even before I was in scouting, I slept on the river bank, swam across the river. I did fishing and hunting with my BB gun up there on where 54th Street went on down to the river. I had a bicycle and I get me a blanket and tie it on the bicycle and go. I don't know why Mama didn't put her foot down, but she let me do what I wanted to do. We even went out, Dick French and myself went out and got cow bones and boiled them and cleaned them up. And we put a cow skeleton together up at Jordan when we was there. And
I think he had a lot in common with my dad. He used to play up there in North Island a lot too, Austin Starling.
I was raised up on Coma Avenue, right behind the Royal Theater at that time. My dad opened up the Royal Theater in 1928 as a movie operator. And we lived at the first house behind the theater on Coma Avenue. And for a long time we lived there until we moved out to the home place, which is on Jensen Boulevard and College Drive now, I think it's called. We had 5.5 acres there right on the corner. And we stayed there until 3 or 4 years, because I was in 3rd and 4th grade at Jensen School.
Charlie, could you tell us a little bit about Camp McKenzie and your experience as a young boy going there? What do you remember about Camp McKenzie?
At the beginning, there was nothing there at Camp McKenzie except the mess hall. We used to check in on a week before summer camp, and they had a 2-story barn there where the ranger's house used to be, and that was full of hay. And we would go in there and get sleeping bags, I call them. There was burlap sacks or something like that. We fill them full of hay. And the Army put the tents up for us. You got pictures of what the tents looked like there.
So those were military tents?
Yeah. And
was the mess hall wood or was it the cedar block?
Just wood. There's a regular old pine house. And right behind the mess hall was the water tank that they caught water and used it for the. And to both sides of the mess hall, we had steps cut into the dirt going down to the ceremonial area. And I remember across the lake, that was Gray Lake, and we used to go in there by the power lines and go all the way over and put up a teepee up on that hill. We made it all flat and had a teepee there for the ceremonies, that we would light torches on the teepee and walk on down and get in a canoe and go over, paddle over to the ceremony area there at the end of it. And
was this on Standing Boy Creek that you would do this?
no, this is Gray Lake.
It was on the lake.
Gray Lake.
On Gray Lake. Did you ever swim in the Standing Boy Creek?
That was our swimming place.
It was. Did you ever have a diving platform or something?
We had a dam there, and we took our showers below the dam. And up the creek, about 100 yards, I guess, was a springboard. We could spring and get into the creek and swim. And I used to swim from there up to the bridge, rest, and then swim back down to the swimming hole.
Were there very many stories about Indian Joe's cave at that time?
Yeah, that was part of the camp.
Can you remember them talking about Indian Joe's?
Yeah, right.
What do you remember about that?
Jimmy Sanders was an expert on that, but when they sold Camp McKenzie, he forgot everything. He said, yeah, I'm not talking about Indian Joe anymore. But he was in on all campfires and talking about Indian Joe, how it became known as Indian Joe. I slept in that cave quite a few times.
What do you remember about what he said about it?
I don't really remember now.
Maybe you can help me out a little bit. On the patch, they call that Indian Nemo, which had to be from Indian Joe. Do you know why they called him Indian Nemo?
No, Nemo came into being on the first patches that they had up there, but it had nothing to do with Indian Joe.
It didn't.
I don't think so. But
so you think that was separate? But they used the symbol of even back in the 50s. They had, I guess, the mascot of the camp had an Indian on there, and that's what they used in 1971 on the patch. Who is this? This is Indian Nemo, right?
Nemo.
And he had nothing to do with Indian Joe's cave?
No.
Okay.
That was a patch that we designed a few years ago when Gene Hillhouse headed up that camporee.
Right.
Do you remember anything about where the Indian Nemo came from, or what?
I had dug and tried, and even called old timers about Nemo, and don't know. But Indian Joe Cave, we used to go across the swinging bridge. It was there when I was at camp. And instead of going up to Wilson Hill, we had a rugged camp up there. I'd take a right and go quite a good piece up on that side of the creek, and there was a hanging rock hanging over, and two could get in there and sleep. And we used to, I don't remember if we even carried a blanket or whatever with us.
What's your favorite memory of Camp McKenzie? You spent many, many years and did many activities. What really stands out for you at Camp McKenzie?
Going through the Order of the Era, I guess. I went through the Order of the Era there in 1939. And I became a Brotherhood member in 1940. And the Vigil Honor was presented to me in 1981.
Did you do a tap out, or what was the, you remember the ceremony?
We met inside the dining hall. The others had regalia on, whatever they had. And the ones who was tapped out, it was something like a college fraternity tap out. We had a barrel in there that represented a horse. You get on the barrel and they pull strings, ropes to you and see if you could hang on. Had a belt line. What else? But they had all sorts of.
Did you have an ordeal? Or was that part of your ordeal?
That was part of it. Then what they did after that, they took us out into the woods, and with nothing but we had to get into our underwear. They carried us out into the woods and left us where we could sleep overnight. Gave us one match we could build a fire with. And what I did, I found a trench. And pine straw, I piled it all in the bottom of it. And that's where I slept over the night. And early morning, I went ahead and lit a fire. I got kind of chilly there. Then they came and got you. No, you had to find your way back. Had to find your way back.
In your underwear?
In your underwear, yeah. But I knew camp over and over and over, and I came on over, and for breakfast they fed us a hard-boiled egg and something, probably dry toast. And we went through the ordeal during that time, and for lunch we had to go out on the back steps and sit down, and then they fed us dried black-eyed peas with no seasoning in them. I remember that.
That meant a lot to you to be in the OA, right? It meant a lot to you to be in the OA.
Right, right. But that was part of the OA that, and I took part of that every year too, enjoyed that.
What professional at the council office most impressed you or made a big impression on you in scouting? Any particular one that you really liked or really respected?
In 1979, Jim I can't think of his last name, but he's assistant national fella now at National. Jim. Papa Bear was here before him. He was real good. He came in 79. Jim.
Harris?
I came involved with him because I retired in 81.
Right.
And he came in 79. He stayed up at Mobley Lodge until they bought a house out there on Off Moon Road. What was his last name? Jim.
What do you remember about some of the early long-term summer camps at McKenzie? You go for a week?
I don't remember.
You pretty much
We had the closing ceremony on Sunday afternoon with a council ring, and the scout executive, he ran some account. What was his name?
Remember any of the other staff there? Remember any of the other staff members?
Yeah, that was Elma Doolittle.
What was your favorite merit badge to work on at camp? Or maybe not at camp.
Pioneer.
What did you like about that?
Working with your hand, building things. Plus, I was on 3 national jamborees in the pioneering staff. They put me in charge of the director of that. The last two courses I was up there. At Gene Hill House, I got him in on the second course. We went in third.
What did you do there? What did you do?
Pioneering.
But what? I mean, tell me, give us a little details.
We had 40 knots we had to tie and demonstrate. We built a bridge we had to build up and leave for the participants to cross over. Then we had one all tore apart that they had to build their own selves. We had a tower that was real tall that we built and left there. And we had a flagpole we had to build. It was like a ship's staff. We had games we set up and played to demonstrate them what they could do when they get back home. I've got a book. They carried it downstairs. I made up and presented it to Adolph Penske. He was the regional wood badge director. Gave it to him, and the one who was directly over me gave him one copy of it. At that time, I had free use of a copying machine, and I put it to use.
Charlie, you made a tremendous impact with the wood badge here in Chattahoochee Council. You were on, I believe, 16
wood badge courses.
Can you tell us a little bit about your wood badge experience?
Well, most of the ones I was on, I was the troop chaplain aide. I conducted worship services and anything that needed to do with religious activities. I was in that. Plus, I set up 18 Scoutcraft skills that we went around and did 18 of them, which pertained to wood badge, to pioneering. And that was a biggie. Each patrol had to build their own gateway. Was another great biggie. But the main thing was great big was we developed a gear well field. We had the assembly there at gear well field. Now, I always put a weather rock right there at the gateway, where they stopped and looked at it and said what it meant. But
that was one of the biggest things you enjoyed doing, though, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
You met all those young men, the next generation of people that would be in scouting.
Plus, Beulah put up with it because it took about 6 months preparation for each course, which you know that by the course that you've been on. And the course that I had, it was a whole full year working and trying this and this. That would be the most fun course that they had. I believe it is because we got lots of them that was in my course are still in scouting and running their own troops.
What was the funniest thing that you ever remember happening at Wood Badge?
Gary Boland up on top of the tower that would build those Each patrol had to build one of those.
Signal tower? Signal tower?
No, the staff built the tower, and the Scoutmaster sat on his rocking chair on the top, and each patrol built their
own, on their own flag? I mean, their own
that's a,
patrol flag?
no, it was a, we gave them all sacks of sand. They had to get the sand. We did it down by the lake. And Gary was sitting up there dodging these sacks coming by him.
Are you talking about when they would put you up on a little platform and they would vault water balloons at you, and you had to sit there with a
Right.
That had a,
But as big as he was, and with him sitting up on top of that thing, trying to dodge it, that was the most comical.
that they each one had to make.
Right, we had 8 patrols, and all of them were shooting balloons.
Water balloons.
Water balloons at him. I guess that was the most comical thing I've had.
You were chaplain's aide. I imagine there were some inspirational moments too.
All the inspiration moment came at the close of the course, when we all went. The staff was already around the campfire, and when the participants, led by the senior patrol leader, will come on down, and then they come into the council room, which we built up, and stood as patrols. And then that was about the most sentimentalist part of the whole course, because you really got choked up at that time. I did, and most of the other people did too. Yeah, the last course I got where I couldn't go in there, but I drove my truck down by the waterfront, and maybe Don Shoots, I don't know, helped me walk on into the where the campfire was going to be.
Charlie, if you were going to pass on something to future Scouters, what would you pass on to them about Boy Scouts?
I really don't know. I really don't know. Because you're there to train them to live the right way. And you do all you can to do that. If you see they've got some type of errors or what have you, you need for them to correct these errors. Because I've been through every phase of scouting that there is. Even help organize scouting into the Methodist Church. We did that in 19...
You were instrumental in getting the scouting program. I think you've mentioned something about going to a national conference for the Methodist Church, and you were instrumental in getting them to...
Columbus District Superintendent Wayman Cleveland appointed me the Columbus District Scouting Coordinator and asked that I attend the Southeast Jurisdiction Coordinated Workshop in Lake Junaluska, North Carolina. That was in 1977. This was the first SEJ workshop headed up by Bill Pierce and Tom Burgess. Bill came out of the education ministry at Nashville into the United Methodist Men to take over a new Methodist Scouting program. And Tom Burgess was the regional director of Boy Scouts. They both promoted this scouting workshop heavily, and I attended every workshop each year until 1992.
And of course the
And Delia, I carried her with me, and she really enjoyed.
Methodists now have the second largest
Yeah.
units in Boy Scouts.
In 1988, our effort was approved and put into the General Conference book of discipline. I've got the page numbers and what have you all in here too, but then it came into being in 1988, May the 22nd, 1988. Plus, at that, I headed up. I was appointed conference scouting coordinator, South Georgia Conference, and I was there for 12 years. And I met with the Methodist men 3 times a year, and I put on a camporee at St. Simon's Island once a year with the Methodist men. We did the scouting activities on Saturday, and we met with the Methodist men for their worship service on Sunday. And we ate in the dining hall, and it was $25 a head to eat all meals in there and all. Plus, I got a plaque as a, what do you call it, a
certificate? Charlie, you have now been in scouting you've got your 60-year pin.
14th of November.
Why have you been in scouting for 60 years?
I love it.
Why?
I just love trying to train these boys what they need to do. And it's been all fun for me too. Although we've had some bunch of hardships, but my pride and joy is when I built that scout building down at St. Andrew. We had a double-decker 40 by 60 building, which preacher Dan Graves was there then, and he wanted it. We wanted just another scout building, but he wanted a dining hall, big, a meeting room big enough for meetings and suppers, and by doing that we had to have 2 restrooms, one male, female. We had to have a full kitchen, and downstairs we kept all of our stuff, and we had a drive-through area where doors were let up and we could drive through and leave our equipment downstairs and all. But when they sold the church, that went with the church.
Charlie, you've been in scouting for 60 years and have made it's made a large impact on you. What kind of impact do you think it's made on the people that you come in contact? Through scouting, what kind of impact do you feel like you've made?
I hadn't done this in years, but in 2009, I've touched the lives of over 394 boys and 120 adults. Plus, it's such a strong troop that we have only 5 Scoutmasters. I started off for 13 years, and Grady Vinson, Tim Vinson's dad, had the Cub Pack, and he came on in as a Scoutmaster. Eddie Tebow, he's passed away now. He was there for a couple of years. And Walter Rhodes, he was there for many years as assistant, and he came on in as a Scoutmaster. And here comes Donnie. Next May, he'll be there 30 years as a Scoutmaster.
Who is your favorite scout that you had under you? Is there a boy that you were just tickled to be his scoutmaster or scout leader? Is the one that you really, really think about?
Not really. I liked them all, you know, loved them all. But when the troop was going, we had 34 boys in the troop, and I had lots of help. We had I don't know, Miss Polly Miller her son was in there. Dr. Wallace, his 3 boys was in there. I had 4 or 5 lawyers, a couple more doctors, and we went everywhere, did everything, and it really didn't cost too much or anything. But during those years, when those boys was in the troop, super.
Do you remember any particular boys that became more successful, perhaps because of their association with scouting?
Well, the Wallace boys. One of them is studying to be a doctor now, one of them's a lawyer. And I forget what the other one is. The other one's, I don't know. But Ben Miller, I don't know what he's doing now. But they was all right together. The anesthesiologist that gave me the ether, his boy made Eagle.
Great.
We talked about that while he was getting ready to put me under Rogers. The tragedy about that, his wife was kidnapped and killed.
Charlie, could you tell me a little bit about Donnie Collins, and from when he started in troop and now what is he doing for you and your
Well, Donnie
troop?
came into the troop, and
He came in as a young boy.
he was the first boy to join the troop because he lived next door to me on Drew Avenue. He came into the troop November 13th, 1963, and he stayed in the troop for 4 years, reaching the rank of star. Then he got 16, and you know what happens. Mostly it was football with him. But 15 years later, he became Scoutmaster. He came back from service, and he came visit the troop one Monday night, and Walter Rhodes handed him the book, said, "Yeah, you're the new Scoutmaster." And Donnie grabbed it. The only bad thing about Donnie is his memory. He just like his dad. He just can't remember.
I know. I work with him all the time.
I know.
But he's been a Scoutmaster for
30 years.
wow. And you are still very much affiliated with the troop there, aren't you?
Right, and he still get disgusted every year and wants to leave. And somebody else, I said, "You find them." I said, "Well, you're the only one I want, you know." But we got to have a wing dig for him next May. I didn't remember the date that he came. But he's got the Baptist Religious Award. He's been on handicap trips to different countries, building churches and stuff. He was he's a Baptist, and that's something else odd, a Baptist, you know, being in the Baptist troop, which is odd.
Why should an adult get involved with the scouting program?
Through his son, I guess. Because just coming in and joining the Boy Scouts off the street, I doubt very few that will do that. But if you have a son that's in a scout troop, you want to work with him and do the best he can to come on up and get his eagle. And if you check with a number of adults in troops, their son is in the troop, or been in the troop.
Why should that adult continue in scouting after his son gets his eagle and leaves?
You take Gene Hillhouse and Peggy. They've been in scouting well over 40 years. No son. Their two daughters went through the Girl Scout at the highest level. They've been to Philmont, did all the hiking and what have you. And Gene been on 4 or 5 world jamborees. He just loved it.
Like you.
Yeah.
It's in his blood.
He's been with me, you know, quite a few years now. In 1979, we started the first training program. And every year we put on 3 or 4 or 5 training sessions. I got a stack of certificates downstairs about this thick with all the training we've been on, and I forgot about those I showed you a little while ago. Got the highest level national in that SAL book, which it should be hanging on the wall.
All this time that's spent in training leaders, why is that important? Why is it so important they be trained?
If you're going to run a program, you got to have trained leaders. If you don't have trained leaders, then they'll do it the way they want to have it run. But every organization has got rules and regulations to go by. And if you don't, you won't advance. You just won't advance at all.
You've seen scouting change a lot in your time.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Can you remember some of the things that surprised you or made an impact that scouting has changed? But it seemed like it's constantly changing.
Not really.
feel that the principles that you started off with as a boy are still there?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You got to be in a troop and be active. Like Hope Baldwin, had no equipment, no nothing. And I've got pictures of him go up Pine Mountain, Roosevelt Park, and sleep on the ground there, and hike over to the swimming pool through the woods and hike back, and that was it. I don't even remember what we ate. But
speaking of eating, do you remember any really good meals out on scout camping? Favorite dishes?
how about treating potatoes, Beulah?
What?
Good meals. We had two boys, brothers, that went on a camp out over at the park over at Auburn. And come evening meal, they cooked treating potatoes, and they came back to the troop and they really talked it up. And everybody I know of that used to get your potatoes, dice them up, put some onions in it, get your can of treat or Spam or whatever, ham, dice it up, put it in there and get it all brown. That's the best meal I know of. It's simple and everybody loves it. We can have Peggy do all of our cooking when we go on camp out. We got a 20 by, 40 tarp. And we've set up tables under it and cooking equipment under it. And Peggy let the boys get in there and show them how to cook and this, that. But she fixes some good meals.
Scouting really emphasizes the boy-led troop. As you've watched the boys grow and be patrol leaders, senior patrol leaders, what are some of the outstanding examples or experiences you've had as far as a boy-led troop?
They can't come into being until they're about 16 years old. Because up until then, they want to play, I guess, a lot. They're not really sincere in what they're trying to do. But when you get around 16 years old, you really get dedicated on doing your leadership part in the troop. And that's when the Scoutmaster really let the boys, run the troop like they want to. And it's always an adult standing by to make sure it's run according to Hall. But
do you remember any good events where the boy leadership kind of shone forth?
Do what?
Remember any good events where the boys really took hold as leaders?
Well, they have trained doing activities doing the troop. And on these camporees, they do other things with other boys and other troops. And if they're trained properly, they really come out as winners and enjoy doing what they're doing. But that's part of it, is having fun and doing it, living by the Scout law.
Charlie, one of these days you're not going to be here, just like all of us. Is there anything that you would like to say to Scouters that you know and Scouters that may not know you? Is there anything that you would like to share with them, or that you'd like to say about scouting?
Not really. If you don't love it, you're not going to do what needs to be done. But there's so many adults that in scouting that really love it, and they do a real good job. And that's what it's all about.
Why do you love it?
Just training the boys and adults, I guess. Training. I've been in training since '79. You know, Gene Hillhouse myself pulled in to Camp McKenzie to start it on a Friday afternoon, and we had 1 or 2 boys show up, so we had to cancel it and go home. And that really tore both of us up because we were prepared to put on a super camp out for them. But Gene and myself, I guess, put on more than anybody ever been around. And because we love it, you know. We see what it does for the boys and adults.
You meet a lot of nice adults, don't you? You meet a lot of nice adults, don't you?
You do that. You do that.
It's the way I see it. The boys kind of come and go, but the adults you usually have a longer relationship with, and you establish long, great relationships.
Well, the last 2 years, I've kind of backed out because of my health. And before then, I was in on everything. Jim Terry is his name. When he came here as Scout Executive, I just retired from civil service, and we just clicked together. And he said, "You come on down, and you do what you want to do." And I spent almost 8 hours every day down at the Scout office. Bill was working the health department, and I either was there at the health department, at the Scout office, or out fishing. But he's a Scout executive that I really fell in love with.
So you feel like you put in a few hours of volunteer time for scouting?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Over the years, scouting is now 100 years old, and over the years there's been some changes. Can you think of anything that you feel like maybe has been lost that they used to have in scouting?
Basic scouting hadn't changed any. It had been stayed the same. Other parts of it has changed because of different leadership that comes in. But basic scouting that it was designed to do hasn't changed at all.
Do you feel like scouting covers more areas now in America than when you first started? Do you feel like they can reach out and touch more young men?
It does, yeah. Because you got so many activities that sponsor scouting now. Well, years ago you only had just a very few. And that's about it. You know, you got to love it to stay in it. because it always costs you money.
Charlie, the boys now have a lot of different gadgets that they can bring camping, and we have a lot of policies. When you were a boy, was there anything that you wasn't supposed to bring?
We didn't have nothing to bring. We didn't have nothing.
That wasn't a problem, huh?
A pocket knife, a sheath knife is all that we had.
Did you ever bring playing cards? Was that one of the things they didn't like?
That's my Boy Scout knife that I carried when I was a boy. And I don't know where I got it from or anything, but it's got tools you need on there.
You've opened it a couple of times, haven't you? Did you ever cut yourself with it?
Probably. But this is one that we don't allow the boys to use anymore. That was a present from Dr. Wallace for me. I put it up here with my memoirs. This was handmade by old Mitchell.
As scouting has changed and gotten modern, are there any particular modern changes that you've welcomed or you felt were really good moves?
Well, the last few years I haven't been on any training courses, so I really don't know. Because I started the commissioner training course here, and it just bloomed out of everything. And Mickey wants me to get back involved with it, and I was going to do it this year before I had my operation, but I didn't make it. But I still got the up-to-date manual, and I've been looking at it every now and then.
Well, what I'm hoping is that you'll make it to the next Wood Badge reunion, and because we're going to plan on laying all this stuff out, and it would be awfully nice that someone that's been there at the beginning, and I think that would be something wonderful to share. But I'm looking forward to making sure this is all out on the table.
Here's one thing else you haven't seen. Campfire ashes. I was made keeper of the flames way back yonder.
Tell me about the ashes.
1907 was when it started. And I started keeping it in 1973. And every campfire worldwide was sent to me up until $1993.
You have some of those ashes? Do you have those ashes from 1993?
Yeah.
We'll have to make sure that they get utilized.
What we did, we got those film canisters, and after each campfire, during the closing of the ceremony, we dumped the ashes in the campfire, and the next morning we would get the cold ashes out and put them in a pan for whoever wants them come by and get a canister and dip them up and carry them with them. And I don't remember now how I got all of these. I don't remember. I got no notes in there. I looked at the other day trying to figure out. But I was keeper of the ashes for all those years.
And what's the purpose of the keeping the ashes? What's the reason behind it?
The memory of the campfire. Ashes taken from the campfire are sprinkled into the flames off the next campfire. The next morning, when the ashes are cold, they are stirred, and each scout takes some along to mix in with his next campfire.
Do you know where it began and when?
1907.
From the original.
Gilwell. Brown Sea Island. Ashes was taken 9/85. That's when it started. 85. But it got all worldwide. Germany, Japan, England, Ireland, Belgium, Germany, Japan, Switzerland. But I don't know where I got these, who sent them to me, but they knew I was keeper of the flames, and that's another thing.
Charlie, I want to thank you for passing on to the historical committee some very important documents, and they're most appreciated. We are adding to them to try to bring them up to date.
I just want to say, don't do away with them. Don't do away. Because that book there, one of a kind, it goes with the rest, and it will keep going on.
Well, that's what we hope with the historical committee, and that's one of our purposes.
I hope the scout office will let you have a room down there that we can keep some of the stuff, but the stuff that you're talking about now, it needs to be kept. Because if I had done that years ago, we would have nothing. Because I have kept some pretty good records.
You mentioned going to the jamborees. Do you have any memories of being at Philmont or Northern Tier or any of those camps?
Just good memories. At Philmont was super out there. Couldn't hike anymore, but I went out to the religious meeting of all things that went on, and brought back my plaques and all, and brought back Beulah's bull up there. But that's what I love right there, and that's what I get fussed about all the time. Right now we're going to clean about half of that stuff off and put it away.
If any of it needs to find a home, please let us know, okay? If it needs to find a home.
I got a half of a box full in the middle bedroom still. But we're going to clean the shelf off, aren't we, Beulah?
What?
The L shelf.
Yeah, we're going to straighten it up.
Do you still have your old uniform? What's the oldest uniform you have?
I gave all that away.
Do you remember when you first put on a uniform, how you felt about that?
No, I don't. I don't. I've had the V-neck shirt. I've had the V-neck knit shirt. Had the wool shirt. And wool breeches, I still got them in there. Because most of the time during the summer I wear shorts and shirt, you know. I got about 6, 7 pairs of shorts. And
What would you tell to scouts or to their leaders about the importance of the uniform?
they need to get them a uniform, to let people know that they are in a scouting program and that what they're trying to do. But just like he said a little while ago, when he showed up with his uniform when he was a boy, I don't think I even had a complete uniform when I was in scouting. I had to have one when I went to the Eagle Court of Honor.
I noticed in the pictures at Camp McKenzie, most of the boys did not have a uniform. Not very few actually had a full uniform. I would like to share with you, Charlie, that your totem book that you kept at Wood Badge, Dick Tipton did his totem, and I had an opportunity to share it with his son, Rick, and send it to him, and he sent me back a nice email thanking me for sending it, and how much he very much appreciated.
I sent Rick's Wood Badge ticket to Dick when he presented it to him at Greenwood, Mississippi. And that really tore Rick up. But I had all the copies and everything, and I let Rick carry it, you know. But that's something. Dick, he was a good buddy of mine.
You had a few along the way, didn't you?
Had a few.
Well, I imagine you'll have a chance to meet them before one of these days. Y'all have a lot to talk about, won't you?
Yep.
It'll be a campfire in the sky, huh? What do you think you'll talk about when you get there?
The good old days.
And there were a lot of them, wasn't it?
Yep. But a whole lots of them.
Charlie, I want to thank you for digging this up, and it goes with the rest of the stuff that you gave.
It's complete now.
It's complete, and this is absolutely one of a kind. It's priceless, and this is exactly what the historical committee is all about, is trying to collect and preserve this kind of stuff. There's just absolutely so much history here. And
Well, I dug and grabbed what I could when I had the opportunity.
You have a picture here of some. Oh, okay. This is in South Africa.
Yeah.
That was an article in there.
And that last thing is another Wood Badge course that Bill Barron headed up.
Right. Well, I've been through 2 Wood Badge courses, and then I was on staff for a couple, and it certainly made a tremendous impact. Tell us about your mug.
That's all my courses on my coffee mug.
Were you a good old owl?
And that's my totem.
Well, I'm in good company because I'm an old owl too.
Yeah. Well, that was the closing part of the ceremony. We say, God of all the fields, Gilwell Fields, God of the north, God of the south, God of the east, and God of the west, and most of all, God of the whole universe, Be with Gil well till we meet again. That will put on there. Borrowed my cup and put an old Bob White on there.
Well, I tell you what, if it needs a home, if we had some kind of, and hopefully we'll have some area or museum, if that cup would be an item that would be, with all of those courses on it, would be an item that would need to be displayed, and with a little bit of history on behind it.
Yeah, that's my regional commissioners. Told him there. But I don't know where I'm going to put all these, Beulah.
What?
All these owls.
Wrap them up and put them in a box.
But we're going to get rid of, not rid of them, but put them up. There's a Christmas shop on the way to Lake Junaluska. We used to stop by there every year and pick up different things. And every year I stop by there, and then my daughter stopped by there, and the new things that they came out with, she get me one and bring it in. We got the Cub Scout figurines in the back, stand up, and shirts. She found these up there last time they went by.
Just about run out of shelf room. You've just about run out of shelf room.
That's what she said. We don't have a box, but we're supposed to have some boxes picked up tomorrow, and we're gonna wrap these up and put them up, most of them. But lots of these things, like that one there, you don't see it no more. And the Baden Powell up there, you don't see him no more. And that clown over there, I bought that one in Texas. And I hadn't seen but one or two more like that. The ones that I have seen been, real tall.
You mean the little knoll here? Is that what you're talking about? This little knoll?
Yeah.
That's quite a...
We got his backpack with a first class badge on it. That's a jewel there. But then he got his Cub pack there. And he's got a smile on his face.
He must be an old scouter because he's got a big beard.
Yep, this was 1967, Scout. 1967. That's the first memento I kind of picked up. Got a scout coin there. The backpack. We got this in it wasn't a pawn shop or whatever. It was a cloth store, wasn't it, Beulah?
What?
Out in Mississippi. No, in Texas. Martha carried us down to that store. But I don't think I have seen it anymore. They even got the World Scouting emblem on there.
Troop 7. Is that by coincidence?
By coincidence.
Things kind of go around, don't they?
Yeah.
Troop 7. Charlie, I want you to know that I have really enjoyed our relationship that we've had in scouting. As you know, when I started committees,
Right.
I want you to know. But can you tell me a little bit about what that meant for you to sit on those Eagle Board of Reviews?
It meant a whole lot, so I wouldn't have, sat on them. It's something for me to do and see what the boys have done to earn the Eagle and the projects that went through. Our project of our last Eagle Scout is that chapel down at Linwood Cemetery. That they built a fence around the side of it where they could store their sightly stuff. And he had his Eagle Court of Honor there in that chapel. That meant a whole lot right there. But seeing these boys doing these and really mean what they're doing, and I see so many of them that the dads would do it for them, in other words. But I think Andrew went down there 4 or 5 times and got until he got his fence put up and painted. And the cemetery committee wrote a nice letter to him about that. They really appreciated it.
You know what I really enjoy about doing those Eagle Board of Reviews is that you're sitting across the table from the next generation, and a lot of these kids are the ones that are going to be running the show in the future.
Yeah.
And you know it.
That's true.
The military kids that came through from Fort Benning, a lot of these kids, you just realize that scouting made a big impact on them. And it's nice to be there, sitting there at the sort of the end of that process and seeing those boys get their Eagle.
Well, what I'm going to do, I've threw away lots of the stuff. No need no more. But these are kind of makeshift. And what I'm going to try to do is do it alphabetically somehow or another. Because it goes, I did this in May of '98. It's my life history. Just like this wilderness survival program. Nobody probably even know anything about that now. But I got my T-shirt downstairs. I got the lesson plan still downstairs. And that started in 1972.
Charlie, we're about ready to finish this interview. What would you like to say to your fellow Scouters? Anything?
Not will it, just keep in love with what you're doing. And don't get disgusted, because there's lots of times things go the wrong way that you can go ahead and change it yourself at a future date. But stick with it. Stick with it.
And make a difference.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Charlie. It has been a real privilege for us to come out and talk with you and share some time with you. We go back. I go back a little ways with you. You got some buddies that go that are, I almost would say, a generation.
Right.
the older generation. Luckily, you have some really wonderful friends. Don Schultz. He worries to death about you, and y'all got a friendship that is not equal to.
We've been through a lot.
Yeah. We
So
appreciate
much.
you sharing some personal moments with us in scouting. This is what the purpose of this interview was. Robert here has done a lot of interviews and different productions. He's been in filming, and he's done a lot of things in scouting on national level. And I'm real fortunate that he's in Columbus, and we happened to just kind of luckily cross paths, and I jumped on him real quick like, and luckily I talked him into being on one of my committees, in this historical committee, and I pray that he'll be able to continue here for a while. He's got to find himself a job in the near future.
Keep going.
But he is.
If I did away with this stuff years ago, it would be gone.
Well, I appreciate you collecting this, and there's going to be many people in the future that are going to get a tremendous amount of enjoyment out of looking at
See,
this.
I haven't even been downstairs yet.
What I need to do, Charlie,
I got a
is,
file cabinet.
if Bueller is okay, I need to probably come over one day and maybe go downstairs, Bueller, if that would be possible, and stir up the dust.
Never get rid of it.
We might need to interview her too a little bit. I bet she's got a couple things to say after all her many years in scouting.
Not mine.
Oh,
not,
yeah.
Not my many
Well,
years.
yeah, you've been in scouting. It was not necessarily of your choice, but you've been in scouting for many
It's
years.
been for her to put up with what all I've done.
I know. Well,
Done a lot.
I can remember many a time I'll ask my wife, we've got this camping trip up, and do you think it'd be okay if I went on it? Yeah, sure, go and do it, you know. And my son, Rayford, got his Eagle, and he pretty much very soon afterwards left, and like Charlie, I just kind of kept on keeping on, and I never got far in scouting. Actually, I can remember my scouting was about 3 months in Troop 6 in Lake Bottom. But when my son came along, and it was nice to do scouting then, and then I enjoyed being in scouting. I got my Eagle through my son, I guess you could say.